Hey there, fellow treasure hunters. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Ostranauts Fire in the Hold. Episode 19, Deviating from the Plan for Profit. Before I start the stream, I want to quickly go over something that happened today, which was an update. So, Ostranauts updated, and the primary thing it added was Steam Workshop support. With that said, I am not and will not be running mods for this series. But other little changes that got added was gigs improved a little bit for stability and reliability. There are more transportation gigs around Ceres and Europa. Port Mojave, which is in Ceres, got an HVAC upgrade because the station was overheating. You know, like little things. But vast majority of the update was, of course, workshop support. And as you can see above my head, the priority now is to build out a crew quarter, a crew quarter, closed bridge, and bathroom into the ship, and then upgrade the airlock for tethers. And that is what we're working on. So here at this current ship that we're on, I don't think that there's really anything left for us to grab. Let me quickly go over to the price visualizer and make sure that is indeed true. We have our 4 doors, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so there's really nothing else that I really want from this ship. So we're going to push off. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to push off and go back to KSC 0. Because KSC 0 is the ship that has all like the parts that we want. Because if we're building out a crew quarter, I'm going to want KSC 0's walls and the like. And I'll talk about a little bit about the design ethos as well. And I've mentioned this a lot, so I'm sure many of you have heard this a bunch. But the idea is all of the ship that we have will be vacuum, not pressurized, except for a crew quarter that is in the middle. And the middle crew quarter will serve a purpose of like a safety room, a panic room, if you will, so that it is pressurized. Because if we're getting attacked by other ships, I don't necessarily want an oxygenated environment, because an oxygenated environment is one that is going to potentially explode. All right. So back to the priorities. Let's undock from this bad boy. And if I'm not mistaken, we are still on fusion power. In fact, yep, power's going up, not down, so definitely still on fusion. Cool. You know, I might actually check out some of the ships around me instead. And the reason is there's still other things on the shopping list. One of the things on the shopping list, and I'll get to ooh, that's a lot of money. Okay, hold on. Little detour. One of the things on the shopping list is another helium tank, because we're going to need more fuel to get over to Ceres, and 2 helium tanks is just simply not enough. But thank you so very much for Quantum and Kellyan, both, for gifting out subs, and resubbing from Silver Knight and Jonah and Rylus and Turtle and Glitch for the cheers. I appreciate it. One of the reasons why I would want a little bit more money is it's going to help allow me to sort of like ignore a lot of the required annoying things to amass when it comes time to prep our trip. You know, buying like water and food and potentially even like grav pens and the like. It really depends on how we make the trip. So I think there's not a compelling reason for us to ignore a giant sum of money and otherwise. So, this ship out here is what I would consider a treasure boat. That is, let's accelerate a little bit faster to it. That is definitely a cargo hauler. And while we're traveling out to that, let's restore our heavy water tank. And cheers, by the way. Oh, Turnaround, thank you for the resub too. Alright, take a look at the nav map. I'm a little worried that some of these other ships are physically in the path. So I probably need to get on helm so we don't have a 200 meter per second collision. You know, going half the speed of sound into a ship would be bad. One way to check is to click on the other targets and check your cross velocity or bearing. So like this ship here, we have a 5-degree bearing off axis. What I'm going to do is I'm going to intentionally veer away from it, meaning that I'm misaligning to my target ship so that we can avoid a collision with JFYWV. And then we'll just have to realign to whatever this thing's call sign is. Alright, let's realign now that we're no longer on a crash course. And with any luck, the ship we're heading to right now will also, perchance, have the correct mobile light walls that we are hoping to buy in order to build a crew quarter. I mean, who knows? I have no idea, but it might. And hello, Ryan. Thank you for the cheer. All right, taking a look at the nav map. How are we looking? Good. Doesn't look like there's anything in the way. And now we are repairing random damage all around. Because we had just installed these walls. We don't even have conduits in the walls yet, and I do intend to eventually power them up, because we have an IR sensor and optical sensors, which are not even powered up on the back of the ship. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done here. Why do you think this game isn't streamed as much as the other games I play? It's more indie, it's more niche, it's more difficult, I don't know. Has a smaller player base. I don't really think about those things, in truth. Okay, I need to kick it. So max throttle, slow down, because we're only 1 kilometer away, because I was out restoring the parts of the ship not near the helm. So I'm slamming the brakes. Essentially, TLDR, we need more thrusters on this thing, because my deceleration rate is bad. So now we're only moving at like 7 meters per second towards it, which is like a swift, you know, it's like a slow sprint for human speed. So yeah, we can collide, it doesn't matter, as you can see. In fact, well, we haven't gotten docking authorization yet, but basically I was like already within docking range, just about. All right. Well, here we are. This is the treasure boat. Now, unfortunately, it looks like it is all testudo, but it has specialty cargo pods, which are insanely expensive. So very pleased that we got here. Let's start scrapping this thing for the cash, the dosh, and then I'm going to poke around the crates, and then of course we'll gain access to the spicy pods. I don't want to deviate too much from my plan of, you know, prepping our trip to Ceres, but like it's really hard to pass up something this lucrative. It would be sort of foolish because it's just that much money. So we've got a laser ray and pellet feeder that I don't really care about in the scheme of things, and a cryo pump. Yeah, 99.99999% of the wealth here is these pods. And there's a special way to sell these pods, I'm sure most of you know, but you don't sell them normally. You sell them to a cargo pod vendor. So actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do this a little bit more efficiently. where let's clean up our deck here to make as much room as we possibly can. And then order like a haul order for our character to automatically haul things into place. So I'm nesting things in the dolly. What? This is an old king intake. I'm nesting things in the dolly. And I'll even take some of the... Oh my god, my toddler is like having a full-on meltdown right outside my door. And I'm going to try to make as much room as I possibly can in the auto-hauling zone so that we can very quickly put as many of those cargo pods onto our deck as possible. Now, of course, these cargo pods will have to be restored considerably in order to be used. Oh my god, what is... There's so much screaming. Wife, please drag him away from the door. If it sounds like someone's being murdered in the background, bleeding through the mic, and I don't think it's bleeding through the mic, I guess you know why. You hear nothing? Okay. It sounds like he, like, broke a limb or something. Obviously, that's not the case. He's 4. But, oh my goodness. I kind of wish I didn't have a sleeping bunk already, because this thing is huge and will take up a lot of space, but, you know, whatever. There we go. All right. I should have... Oh, you know what? Let's do this smart. Pick up the dolly. And... Oh, move. Come on. This goes here. This goes here. I'm just trying to, like, make space for all of the wall panels that I don't want to pick up one by one. Okay, and these are loose floors. All right. Cool. Now, let's do the home zones. And my visor, I don't think lets me see zones. Even if I turn all the overlays on. No. Okay. So kill the visor. And edit the zone. Now these sail pods are 3x3, so they're not going to fit in the 2 wide sections over here. There we go. And then let's get rid of, whoops, all of that as well. All right, so that's the hauling zone. Technically, we could fit like one here or one there. In fact, I'll just, yeah, there we go. Done. Cool. Am I going to have another? Absolutely not. Not a snowball's chance in hell. One and done. In fact, if I could just have one that screams a little bit less, like, that would be terrific. I'm mostly kidding. He's a great kid. Just his meltdowns are an order of magnitude louder than you would expect on a logarithmic scale. So some of these pods are pretty beat up. Mostly they're all going to be worth the same unless they're pristine. So even the damaged ones, it won't really matter in the end of the day. I haven't seen any pristine ones yet. If I went to the price overlay, I could probably spot them. Oops, I didn't mean to uninstall that. Am I going to keep some of the pods? I don't intend to, no. Can't think of a compelling reason to have a specialty pod. Maybe a regular cargo pod? But I don't want those either. We're not trying to be a trader. Alright. Orders. Oh, I'm getting hungry and thirsty and need hygiene, but whatever. Orders. Haul. Visor. Show me placeholders, exteriors, forget power paths. Yeah, the placeholders don't really auto-update all the time. But alright, there we go, auto task, and now I should be hauling these automatically without having to like do much thinking. Usefulness of these pods, it's worth money. A lot of money. And we'll be able to take over half of them, maybe? Or half? Alright, let's free up these pods. And what these are, just to let you know, because you're probably like, what are these? And I totally forgot to mention. They are trade pods. Basically, they have goods inside them. Think of them as like shipping containers. And these shipping containers are radiation shielded, climate controlled, and like leak proof or whatever. I mean, but radiation shielded and climate controlled are the important bits. Basically, they're like pods for whatever you put in them, and they're the most expensive type. You can think of them as like refrigeration truck containers or something. Alright, we are out of room now. So that's all the room I have. I could Jenga... No, that's a 2. I could Jenga some in here, but I'm not gonna bother. This is a good enough haul for now. Or I could expand my floor, but again, not gonna bother. I do have questions for you, though. So, Han JD is the name of the ship. And this is the one with the specialty pods. So I'll poll you in just a minute about how I'm going to handle these pods, whether I'm going to try to maximize profit or sell them conveniently. There's like multiple levels of pod processing that we could do. But let me just make sure I'm not going to, like, crash on my way over to K-Leg. Alright, so I'm going to slow down a little bit. Especially given that my thrust max has been ruined from the fact that I just took on a whole bunch of pods. Alright, how to handle the pods. Max profit. Balanced or min profit, and I'll explain what that is. Maximum profit would be restoring the pods up to at least 95% and then selling them to the pod vendor for max profit. Balanced would be like restoring them or just selling them to the pod vendor, and then like minimum profit would just be selling them to the salvage vendor without doing any restorations. Restoring them is obviously going to take time, and time is money, but I will be making a lot of potential money off of this. Okay. I think I'm just going to steer around just in case, but it doesn't look like this would have been a collision. No. Okay, cool. So you guys can choose. Why am I still getting proxy warnings? I shouldn't be. Yeah, there's... Okay. There's nothing between me and K-Leg that's going to cause an issue. So the reason to pick it up first is when you pick it up, you can see its condition. Because you make full profit at 95% or greater. So you don't actually have to restore it up to 100. 100 is unnecessary. Also, my gut drill's about to run out of charge. So I don't want to bother restoring these any farther than they need to be. O2, pseudo 2 is a little low. And then my screwdriver's super low. Caught it. Where are we? Okay. We're only really going to be able to store this one partially before having to hop on the helm to land on K-Leg. Got it. And it looks like max profit is like way... Oh, where was my pull, by the way? Was it wrong? It was wrong. Should be over there. Good job, me. Looks like max profit is the name of the game. So there we go, 95%. Put it down. Hop on the nav console. And I'll show you how to properly do this. And this is something that is often done wrong. Because you would assume... It's safe to assume that, like, once you're a licensed vendor, you make your most money selling on the licensed vending market, but not for pods. Pods are different. It's gonna get old. There's another ship sitting at K-Leg. I hope I don't collide with him. Okay. Brink coming in. Wow. Straight on in. Basically, no adjustments required. I didn't have to go left or right. Dead on. Alright, so here's how to do it. You need to pick up your cargo pod like this. Like so. And then drag it to this kiosk. The cargo kiosk. Then, trade lets you buy and sell. I'll show you trade first. I don't have any cargo pods installed on my ship. But trade would allow you to buy and sell... like goods, if you will. So like, if we wanted to do this, again, I'm not doing it. Let me take off my helmet so you can see the screen a little better, because I'm in K-Leg. So trade is if you want to buy low, sell high in other areas. So we would look at K-Leg, and K-Leg has control systems are cheaper, hull parts are cheaper, ores are cheaper, which makes no sense because there's not like an asteroid belt here. And then we could, like, travel. Let's say we bought control systems. If we traveled over to Ceres, we could buy it, 51% discount and then sell at Vorb, which is Venus, at, like, 79%, markup or whatever. And allows you to, like, sort of be a hauler, if you will. And that's not what we're about. Instead, we are going to sell the cargo pod. And I'll show you the price differences. So if we sell this like new cargo pod, we can sell this one cargo pod to the vendor for $26,400. The other cargo pods that we have in our inventory, as you can see, these are other like news, and they only sell for $15K. You make an extra $11,000 by just dragging it over to the kiosk. So, like, don't zone sell. Just don't. And then, likewise, if you're wondering, oh, okay, all right, what about the licensed kiosk? I'll show you that too. If we sell this to the license kiosk, we make 18K. And then the other pods are selling for, you know, a much smaller fraction than what they're worth. So if you want to sell a pod, definitely it is worth going to the cargo kiosk and selling the pod in person. It does mean hauling it one at a time. But that's what maximum profit's all about, right? All right, before I continue this, let's grab a little food and then wash up. Yeah, zone sell. You don't want to zone sell it. I don't know why it's like that. I'm surprised it's like that. I'm not sure, again, why. But it is what it is, so just use that information. No, don't decorate your suit. You can long for better food before you eat it. Alright, that one's gonna wash up. Freshen up. We're as fresh as a daisy. Before we go over there, the battery charger for our Weber laser charged all the way up to 100%. Perfect. Swap. And then the got drill. No, don't decorate it. Oh my god, you horn dog. I need to do some personal introspection, I think, before I do anything else. Long for a better love life, guy, because you are trying to draw like little hearts on everything. If let's assume it's hearts and not, you know, something straight out of Superbad. If you know, you know. Remembering family and browsing social apps. All right. Social needs are mostly met. So, time to go over here. Pick up one pot at a time. We're stored up to 95%. And then trade it away. That is the maximum profit way. And we'll make a killing, as one might imagine. Oh, that's gonna get old. Proximity alarms. It's like... Is it my fusion on? Yeah, why? Fusion is definitely on and running. So suit batteries at 51, suit oxygen's at 24. Seems fine. You always put your nav on a switch? Yeah, I get that. I sometimes do. I didn't for this build, but sometimes I do. Do you train your repair skill? Yes, this will train skills. There isn't a generalized repair skill. There's a bunch of separate skills. So this is training civil engineering, combat engineering, construction, and mechanical engineering. And you can see those arrows up. So it's training 4 skills at once by doing this. It's not robotics, software, or electrical. So it's not training those things. And then hypothetically, if I didn't have skilled in EVA suits or 0G ops, it would also be training that because I'm in 0G in an EVA suit too. Right? But I started with those things, because not having those things at start is a little brutal, if I do say so myself. Just about everything your character does lends itself to leveling up something or another, which is nice. It's funny, this cargo pod, its sprite was still disgusting from its like damaged state because it hadn't updated. Oh, and this cargo pod has, see how it's worth more? It's worth more because it has something in it. It's not empty. I have no idea what's in it. I would have to install it to figure that out. In truth, I don't really care, because it's not affecting its sale price for very much. Yeah, and hacking also sucks to start without, especially given that once upon a time, PDAs, before Visor was implemented in the game, PDAs could have data files, but not the Visor cartridges. But now that it has Visor cartridges, it is so important to be able to hack from the start. Am I going to make my ship look like a Sunder? No, I am not. Is it more expensive than buying electricity from K-Leg? No, K-Leg's electricity is pretty cheap. But, in terms of money, it is kind of nominal costs. It doesn't really, like, the difference is pennies on the dollar either way. So it's like, after I sell all these cargo pods, I'll have something like $500,000. And the difference to buying electricity from K-Leg or having electricity from my reactor is a difference of like maybe $100. Like, I pay more to refuel my RCS fuel, in other words. Right? So it doesn't matter. In other words. Yeah. It costs more to spin up. Actually, that's true. Sort of like... This is a bad example. But sort of like LED lights. LED lights wear out. Like, let's say an LED light costs $100. And it has like 10,000 hours of runtime. But every time you turn it on and off, you cut the lifetime of the light bulb. At some point or another, it's more expensive to turn off the light than to turn it, than just to leave it on. Why this applies to fusion is when you first fire up your fusion drive, you actually burn through a lot of extra fuel to get it started. So turning off my fusion engine every time I dock a K-Leg and then turning it back on after I leave is almost certainly more expensive than just leaving it running as a consequence. And the only time you'd ever want to turn that off in that case is if you're trying to replace the liners. Because you can't replace the ablative core liners in a running reactor. But the ablative core liners last for frickin' forever. So, like, you almost never have to replace those unless it sucks. I could always turn it off and turn it back on. Yeah, I mean, I could. I don't intend to. You could take my word for it or not believe me and do it yourself. I don't care either way. It's just a lot more efficient to leave it on. I know that to be the case for sure. And there was another thing that I meant to mention, which is there's other types of pods. So as you can see, there's the standard cargo pod, which is not pressurized and is not radiation shielded. Climate controlled, which is just, you know, temperature. Radiation, which is just radiation, and then the specialty, which is all of them. And for whatever reason, just about the only pods I ever find are the specialty ones. Which is strange, because they're the most expensive by far. Ferrelston tubes work like that as well. The spark needed to start them is 100 times the voltage needed. Yes, right. So it's like, you leave your torch drive on. The reason why I paid the fuel kiosk is, once I leave K-Leg, after restoring all this stuff, which will be a while, right? I'll take a look at what I have to spend to refuel my helium and heavy water. As a way to be like, yeah, okay, this was the cost to keep the lights on by not turning off our torch drive. I have found regular cargo pods like once ever. But with that said, yeah, it's pretty unusual to find anything but but regular cargo. Or specialty cargo, I should say. And when I found that regular cargo, I was actually surprised. I was like, wait, what? This isn't specialty? It felt more special than specialty. It was worth a lot less, but it's so rare to have found one that wasn't a specialty that I was surprised. Traditionally, and this isn't true anymore with the latest update, or 2 updates ago, I should say, the Fire and the Hold update, people would also use these pods and attach them to the externals of their ship to act like ablative lining for micrometeorites and the like. But like, now that you have actual ship armor, that's like less of a meta once you have access to real armor. And BP86, thank you for the sub. Is this the one that was 100%? No. One of them that I grabbed was fully... I think it's this one, maybe? Was fully okay. What's the max skill level? Skilled. Like, once it says skilled and not in training. You can think of it as like, skilled is 1 and training is 0, and like... my software engineering is at 0. My robotics is at like 0.1, you know, or 1 out of 100, or however you want to square it in your head. Once you're trained in a thing, you're trained in a thing, right? All right, so some other things I want to do. There's some of the thing. I think the secondary airlock in here was the only thing I wanted to sell. Fire sensor, optical. Yeah, and that's the only obvious thing from the pod down here that I wanted to sell. So let's just sell that as well at the license kiosk before I forget. That software developer still lives inside me? Yeah, right. Or just like probability, right? Probability is from 0 to 1. I don't know. Maybe it's a float. Maybe it's an int. Well, it's definitely not. Well, actually, yeah, it's probably not an int. But the other funny thing that I find about it is it doesn't give you like the actual numbers. It just kind of rounds. So like you'll see it like 0%, 1%, 5%, 10%. It just jumps, or like you're not seeing the constant progress. Which I find interesting because most games would actually show you the numbers to know how fast they're going up or down. Non-developers tend to use a percent rather than 0 to 1. Yeah, there's something about this game that makes me feel like it's a number between 0 and 1, though. Just because it's Ostranauts and like everything is very scientific. Could be wrong. We are going to need a new O2 bottle after one more restoration, which is fine. I think this one's just all set to sell. Man, that guy still hasn't gotten up. Yeah, this one's fine. Oh, there was an IR sensor that I left there that I hadn't meant to. The other thing I could be doing is dragging them in here and restoring them on the floor here, not to burn through my suit's oxygen. Once your helmet's off, your suit will burn through its charge still because it's actively cooling you. Right? It acts as like a climate control, which is why you can see the charge still going down. But at least it will preserve my O2 bottle. Here we go. Old O2 bottle will get sold in a minute. Should I go back for the other pods? Do you think this is enough money? Should I refocus on the task, or should I try to just get a whole lot of profit? I'm now sitting at a half a million. If you want me to continue, that's fine. Just I would like for you to have input. What's my goal for using the cash? So the cash is going to allow me to buy the things I need for the transit trip, like nicer food, stockpiles of water, drugs, medicine, furnishings, lights. You know, I don't think I'll have the space for things like exercise equipment. Plus, I'm personally intending to mostly hibernate during the trip. But, like, that's the idea, you know, if we want the money. I'm not saying we need it, though. Hell, we could even potentially get citizenship somewhere, because I'm still technically an illegal. But citizenship costs a lot, so I'm not that close to that. Alright, let's sell this old O2 bottle. Which would be, I'm assuming the, yep, that one worth, I mean, the difference of the cost is, like, nominal. And then let's put a new battery in. I also have a rad pen that I could sell. Zone. I'm assuming I already added it. I'm on visor mode, so I can't really tell. Is there anything to buy where I'm headed? Yes. But I don't want to spoil why a lot of money might not help me there. But amassing money, in other words, won't necessarily help me. I do have that spare MHD, true. Thank you for reminding me. What I could do is I could, let me just grab all these cargo pods and then I can take off my helmet and not have to, like, constantly cycle my helmet on, off, on, off. So, you guys do want me to get the pods. Alright. I wasn't sure how that poll was going to go. Sorry, citizens of K-Leg, for forcing you to trip over my everything here. Oh, this was a pristine MHD, too. So it's going to sell for extra once it's restored. And the rules for the regular parts are the same. Oh, why am I not... Oh, there we go. Is that, it's 95% plus is fine. Not... You don't necessarily need to get to 100. I mean, I did in this case because I was tabbed out, but... 8.5K. Not bad, not bad. Thank you for tuning in to Ostranauts Fire in the Hold, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you on next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Ostranauts.